Was there a lot of legwork the band had to do before finally getting the Power Love EP released?
There was a lot of, we went through a few business managers, also some managers. We were looking for a decent manager at the time to, get actually a U.S. deal, but that deal came about through Mark, who had a, connection in Japan with the independent label he had released his thing on, and that was almost, I think, Far Eastern Metal Syndicate, I think it was called, FEMS or something. And he said, hey, I have this other band here, we can record Lion. And they had done, maybe prior to that, like a song Love is Alive for, I think it was Friday the 13th Part 4, and they cobbled some of that stuff together. It had some recordings, too, with their old bass player, Kev Riddles from Cal's band. And essentially all we had done was put the recorded the Power Love, which wasn't part of those other tracks, and which we later recorded, of course, in a second record. But the legwork for it was basically at a time where we were just trying to get get a deal and get signed in the U.S. And it was some rough times.
So with that EP, you and Doug only played on the title track, and that was it. The rest was by the previous lineup?
That is correct.
Now, Jer, while Power Love was released in Japan, was there any label interest in getting it released here in the States back then?
Yeah, there was a couple of labels lurking about. I mean, Atlantic Records, the Scotty Brothers, which is where we ended up going. There was a few people, but we couldn't quite get the deal the way we wanted it, in the sense of getting it distributed properly and just actually going for the biggest label we had a choice with. And so Scotty Brothers, in the end, was the one we had went with, I think, because our lawyer had the best relationship with him. And but it was tough. It was tough getting signed in L.A. in those days. And even though you had thought with these other bands paving the way, it was difficult because the only bands that were signed to Scotty Brothers at that time in that genre was a band called Roxanne and Lion.
And there was other stuff, although it was more in the AOR vein, like Survivor and Stan Bush and stuff like that.
That's correct. I mean, Scotty Brothers had a few different distribution deals from back in the day. They were distributed by Atlantic and then by CBS, and then I think they even went on Polygram. But they did have those acts as well that didn't seem... They always came across to me as more like bands that they would use for soundtracks, but never... Stan Bush had a few records, of course. Survivor certainly did. But they don't, none of the people who work for Scotty Brothers really ever have a good thing to say about them.